This was one of the most reckless things I've ever done. I spent my life savings to make a video game. And you want to know the craziest thing? Even though it cost me $25,000 and I still haven't made back that entire investment, I kind of want to do it all over again. I just released my game, Chess Survivors, on Steam. And on the one hand, I'm incredibly proud of the game I created. I'm incredibly proud of the progress I've made as a developer, a designer, a self-publisher. But on the other hand, it cost me about $25,000 to make my game, and there's no two ways around it. That's a lot of money. And you're probably curious, Aramis, where did you spend all that money? The first place I spent money was on my Steam capsule. Now, this acts as the front page or the cover of your game. And if you think for a second that we don't judge books by their covers, you've never seen a modern book. Their covers are pretty great, and I've absolutely read a few books just based off of their cover. Now, I spent about $500 hiring Holtz, who has since then made a bunch more Steam capsules, so it's going to be a bit more expensive if you hire him. Please let him know that I sent you your way. A few different people in this community have gone ahead and worked with him, and it is an absolute pleasure. I couldn't recommend it more. I'll be using him for my next game. But that cost me about $500. I then spent $20 in music, and it's $20 worth of music. It's not great, it's not bad, it's serviceable. $100 to get my game on Steam, which results in $620. Now, the astute, mathematically inclined viewer, just like you, might realize that $600 does not equal $25,000. So where did the other $24,000 come from? Well, in case you didn't realize, I'm a human. I have my own expenses, and last year, I quit my job in January pretty impulsively because I worked at a toxic company. I sat down and told my boss, hey, here's my 1 week notice. I'll get my work done by then, but I'm done after that. And he said, well, Aramis, where are you going next? And it felt so dang good to say, I don't have a plan. I'm going to go just do some hobbies and work on some home projects. And very quickly, I realized that I loved that freedom. So I figured out how much money I had saved up, and it came out to be about $25,000. I did some budgeting, I pulled back on some expenses, and did some extrapolation to figure out that I had till November where I would have to get a new job again. So I kind of just stumbled my way into being a full-time indie developer, and I eventually settled on the goal of using my life savings to make a game and release it on Steam. I'd been a serial prototyper for the last 3 years and had never actually made a real game. Eventually, I settled on the idea of Chess Survivors, which was the answer to the question, what if you took a game like Vampire Survivors with its kind of impending horde nature and combined it with chess? A game that a lot of people know and love, and you could use that rule set in an interesting way. And then it came time to actually build the game. And I had no idea how to do that. I had only built prototypes up until this point, so I used player feedback. People like Retromation gave me great visibility in his YouTube videos, but also some really good ideas, as well as my Twitch chat and this YouTube community here. So thank you so much. This game wouldn't be anywhere near as good without your sort of feedback, and personally, I learned a lot through that process. And then November rolled around, and it was time for me to get a full-time job again, and as fate would have it, on the day I released the game, I also got a full-time offer for a new job. I asked my company if I could take the weekend to consider it just to see if Chess Survivors would blow up and I wouldn't need an actual job. Spoiler, Chess Survivors didn't blow up. It did pass my wildest expectations, blowing past my goal of 100 sales for the game, or I think even pretty quickly I got to my $1,000 kind of stretch goal. And that's where the $25,000 basically stops, because then it becomes a hobby project. And so I stopped billing myself for my time, even though I wasn't paying myself, but I do consider my living expenses the cost for me to be a full-time indie developer. And now you're probably thinking, well, Aramis, you spent $25,000. Surely you made some sales. I heard you talk about them. And how much was that? And I'll share that with you. During early access, which was about 10 months, I grossed about $8,000. Early access net was then $5,000. That takes out refunds and Steam's cut. My release, which has been about 3 weeks at this point, has been about $2,000 gross and about $1,500 net, to be a gross total right now of $10,224, and a total net then about $8,571. My refund rate is about 8%, just shy of 8%, which seems to be about the Steam average. So all things considered, I'm pretty happy with the number of sales I made. Does it make back my investment of $25,000? Absolutely not. But I gained a lot more than simply money from this experiment. This year of being a full-time developer. I achieved one of my goals. Chess Survivors is not my dream game, but it was a dream to make a game. I learned that I love getting feedback from players. To see someone go out of their way to write me this kind of long, drawn out explanation of all the different mechanics they like and things they want to change, it warmed my heart and it energized me like nothing else. Getting some feedback was the one thing during early access that kept me going. I think there's probably a pretty direct relationship between the number of hours I worked and the amount of feedback I got on the game. But the coolest thing I saw was that in reviews, you get to see how many hours people play. 88 hours. There's many games that I bought for $20, $30, $40, $60 that I have not played for 88 hours. That's wild. My goal with any game I buy personally is to have every dollar I spend to get an hour out of the experience. So my goal with Chess Survivors right now would be there's 5 hours of fun. And I think I did that. Now I started this video talking about the fact that it cost me a lot of money to make my game. And I posed the question if it was a mistake for me to spend my life savings making a game. Well, I know that it's not. Because for me, it's not about the players playing the game and having fun, or even which YouTubers end up playing it or making money on this side. It struck me as I was watching Jonas Tyroller talk about his game Thronefall in a recent YouTube video. This game is blowing up. He is in a special moment in his life, in his game dev journey, where he is kind of hitting it big. And he says it doesn't feel any different than his other games he's put out. And that stuck with me. It stuck with me that the destination isn't the fun part. For me, the fun part of making games is just that. It's making games. I love the challenge of it. I love how hard it is to make a game that just runs. It's so easy to make bugs in a game, and it feels like a lot of development ends up being bug fixing. But I love coming up with creative designs for problems. I love just going on long walks and thinking about different mechanics I want to add to my game or new games I want to make in the future. I truly found something that I just love doing. But I don't feel accomplished having Chess Survivors be done. If anything, I feel a little bit of sadness inside of me that I am done with it and I don't get to keep tinkering on it and working on it. Someday maybe I will reopen development on it, but for now, I'm going to start working on my next project because although it cost me $25,000 to make Chess Survivors, it was some of the best money I've ever spent, and I'd do it all over again. I'm Aramis. Thanks for watching.